Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Business Podcast, your source for all things business. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. Keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today is a very special reunion 2020 episode. What is that? That's when I had a guest on in the past, and I liked them so much I had to bring him right on back. So today's special return guest is Chike Aguh, and he is the Senior Principal Director of Product at McChrystal Group. Chike, welcome back to the show.
Great to be back with you, Adam.
So, great to have you back on the show. I'm excited to get into today's topic, not because, of course, I'm excited about what's going on, but I know you're helping a lot of businesses and governmental organizations kind of navigate through this change in this pandemic and what the future of business is going to look like. Because, obviously this is one crisis unprecedented. We haven't seen it before, but there'll be more down the line. I mean, we know that. So I know McChrystal Group is really focused on that right now. But before we get into that, I don't want to assume that all of our new listeners caught your first episode. So let's just start off with some of the background of what you're doing over at McChrystal Group, please.
Sure. So thank you so much for that introduction and really kind welcome. So McChrystal Group, in the name, we are named after our founder and CEO, General Stanley McChrystal, retired four-star general who was the head of Joint Special Operations Command, which leads things like Navy SEALs, Delta Force, Green Berets, doing very dangerous things on behalf of our country, and then also led forces in Afghanistan from 2008 to 2010. And our firm is really based on two key truths. The first, and this was learned on the battlefield by General McChrystal and many of the senior leaders who serve with him and work for us now, is that the key to success is adaptability, particularly in crisis, fast-moving situations. They live this in Iraq and Afghanistan, and many businesses are living this today. So we help organizations become quick, adaptable by changing how they work within themselves to meet the challenges that they are seeing. And that's true particularly today as it ever has been. The second truth is that most of the business problems and business solutions that organizations need lie within their people. Your people are your most valuable asset, and we serve as your people performance partner because we believe that your business problems and your business solution have at their root your people. So we invest heavily in organizations to invest heavily in their own workers, particularly their leaders, to meet the challenges that are in front of them today. So creating fast, adaptable organizations who realize that their people are the source of their problem and also the source of their solution if done and implemented the right way.
What are some of the, I think that's a great transition. I mean, what are some of the things that you're helping business navigate right now, considering everything that's going on? I mean, what kind of things? Because this is your specialty. The pandemic just happened to happen, but you've been doing this thing all along. So what kind of things are you helping people with?
Sure. So when we think about leadership in crisis, and really leadership in crisis is not that different from leadership in the normal conflict, except maybe it happens at a faster clip. Yeah. We have what we call our leadership through crisis framework. And long story short, it's got 5 things that are common sense, but in a crisis time, people forget common sense, and it's important to really define those 5 things. Number 1, define your current reality. We work with a lot of organizations, businesses, and slowly we've gotten a lot of interest from governmental organizations who are just trying to figure out what is going on. How many infections? Who's being infected? How is this affecting, what are the downstream consequences on my business, on my organization? And frankly, we've seen a lot of businesses and governments and nonprofits who've been caught flat-footed, who never thought it would spread so fast, who never thought it would affect parts of this. So define your current reality is number 1. And this has really been the name of the game, particularly as the coronavirus has spread and caused much disruption. That's number 1. Number 2, we help folks develop a prioritized plan. So when we think about a prioritized plan, I use a very simple framework. I call it start, stop, continue. So when you think about developing your prioritized plan, what are the things you need to start doing because of the crisis that you never thought of before? For example, in the state of Maryland, which is where I'm from, and which is where I live, we've closed schools through April 30th. No one ever thought that we would have to do that. It was part of no one's plan. Mm-hmm. But because of the crisis, our leadership has said that. Secondly, what do I need to stop? There are things that were in my strategy or plan before that are no longer important to get me through this crisis. I need to stop doing them now because that takes up time and resources. and then continue. What are the things that are part of my strategy that I need to keep doing? I'll go back to the educational example. Kids need to keep learning because we know that's good for us. And to be honest, we need kids to keep learning so that they have something to do, so their parents don't go insane while they're sitting at home. But that's a quick. But so again, develop that prioritized plan. Next is what we call it create simple rules. Once you create that plan, one of the things that lots of organizations have a hard time dealing with is who does what. And it's really hard if you're a leader to try and micromanage everyone and always do that. So when you try and give simple rules to people, for example, if this was General McChrystal in Afghanistan, he might say to a unit, look, if you're in Kunar province, do whatever you feel you need to do. That's in accordance with the mission. If you leave that province or if you go into Pakistan, you have to call me. That's a simple rule, but it allows people a lot of clarity and also leaves room for innovation so that teams on the ground, whether it's a business, a military, a government, can create solutions that you as a leader would never have thought of. But they need those simple rules and clarity to create the room for innovation. Rules and innovation actually come together, and they're not always at cross purposes. Next,
that's awesome.
creating 360 communication, meaning everyone knows what everyone knows. One of the things about most organizations is that they're very stovepiped. People in finance only talk to people in finance. People in HR only talk to people in HR. The business units only talk to themselves. You've got to make sure that you have cross-talk, not just between those orgs horizontally, but also up and down. People at the front line are seeing things that people in leadership will never see because they're just far away. We got to make sure that you're having top-down and bottom-up to get that 360 communication so everyone knows what everyone knows. Because if you can do that, and you have a good plan, and you have good rules, you can begin to move faster. And then the last part is just act. Act. We are seeing right now the cost of inaction. The folks who are doing better at this are the folks who moved more quickly. The folks who are suffering are the folks who moved more slowly. General McChrystal has a very apt metaphor, which comes from his military days. He's like, look, if you're in a foxhole and you're being bombed or mortared by an enemy across the way, the most dangerous place to be is where you are. So you need to move. And then it's a loop. That you're doing, and we are having organizations that we work with, they are doing this on a 24-hour cadence. They are meeting every day. They are defining their current reality every day, because it's changing every day, particularly now. They are creating a prioritized plan and refining that plan on a daily basis. Because it's nothing that you just do once during a crisis. You're doing this constantly. They're refining their simple rules and clarity. They are doing that 360 communication. Communication only works if it's up and down, horizontal, and constant. And then they're acting. And they're doing it every single day. And so we at McChrystal Group, we act almost as basically your personal trainer here. We can't do it for you. That's not how we work. Our goal is to make you successful so that you can do this. And so we serve as kind of a sage, not the sage on the stage, but the guide on the side and that partner to help organizations implement this. And initially, I'll be honest, it's usually not easy for organizations because this is not the way that they're used to acting. They're used to acting more slowly, more top-down, and more with a little bit more tunnel vision than they have to right now. This crisis, one of the upsides of it potentially, is that for the organizations who do survive, and we want as many to survive as possible because those are workers and people who are also being affected, they're going to be better and different than they are right now, but they have to get there first. And when we think about some of the governments who have, you'll probably see more about that in the coming weeks and months, who have reached out to us, they're trying to do the same thing. Because the one thing I'll say about governments is, as someone who started their career in government, their challenges are even more so because, unlike a business, they can't cut a struggling department or division. Mm-hmm. That's not the way the government works.
Yeah,
similarly, they have to serve everyone. They can't say, I'm not going to serve these people because it's not cost efficient. That's not their that's not their democratic mandate. And as I'm going to use a quote by the current Irish Prime Minister, but he said this quote of medical professionals. So I think it's true of folks in government as well. He said, "So rarely have so many asked so much of so few." And it's true of medical workers who are on the front line, and it's true of folks who are in government right now because they can't look away. They have to deal with all these issues, the economic, the social consequences, as well as actually stopping this virus. And so we find that in all those contexts, and again, in the business context that people are in right now, these rules and things that we live by at McChrystal Group are more relevant now than ever. And the hope is that as folks come out of this, that this will be the way that they operate going forward versus going back to normal. Because going back to normal, you're just going to get caught flat-footed by the next crisis.
For sure. No, I love it. And it makes total sense. And one thing that you did mention that, again, people are being hurt. We don't like any of this happening, but I don't know if it's the optimism in me or maybe it's because I'm behind this mic, but it's really interesting. I hear a lot of good things happening too that maybe don't get as much play and as much from this. And if you're listening to this and if you're going through some hard times, again, not saying that we're not all affected, but just do want to say that there's a lot of good things going out of this, and we can't always tell how the good's going to come out or what benefits we're going to get from this, but I have a feeling there's going to be some benefits. I've talked to quite a few people, even like Chike, like we're talking right now about this and things they're doing, and this is a great case example of how you're helping organizations evolve for not just this, but what else in the future, because you're right, there will be other things down the line, like that's not going to stop, whether it's a pandemic, whether it's something else, who knows? I mean, other things are going to happen. So that being said, Chike, if somebody is listening to this and they want more information about McChrystal Group, I mean, what's the best way for them to connect and to research?
Sure. So I'll throw out three ways. One, you can go to mcchrystalgroup.com, and you'll see our full website, which talks about the work that we do as well as our people. I'm up there. McChrystal, McChrystal Group.com. Folks can also get in touch with me at chike.aguh@mcchrystalgroup.com, chike.aguh@mcchrystalgroup.com. I'm also on Twitter at CRAGUH. I'm also on LinkedIn, just first name and last name. And so happy to chat with anyone about this, particularly for folks who think that we might be able to be of help and assistance. But, our message, and this is from our founder, is this. One, there's a new normal that we're living through now. Secondly, folks and organizations and businesses and governments can get through this. But third, it's going to require operating in a different way. And right now, the cost of not doing this is higher than it ever has been. So is the reward. And so, at McChrystal Group, we're proud of where we've come from. We're proud of how relevant it is right now. We're here to help.
Fantastic. Well, hey, Chike, appreciate you coming back on the show and sharing more about what you're up to and how you're helping businesses navigate and governmental organizations navigate this crisis. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, leave me a review on the Apple iTunes Store, and if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, Mission Matters Business, definitely give us a subscribe there, but also leave us some comments on the video. Love to hear what's going on in your world and what kind of things you're working on. And Chike, thanks again for coming back on the show.